Turns out, sharing your husband's funeral with his other wife really puts a damper on the whole "till death do us part" thing. There I was, standing in front of a closed casket at Desert Hills Memorial Chapel in Scottsdale, wearing my best black Nordstrom dress, when this woman in Chanel morning couture swoops in like she owns the place. Which, spoiler alert, she kinda did. She positioned herself on the opposite side of the casket, dabbing her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, accepting condolences like she was Jackie Kennedy at Arlington. The kicker? She was wearing my wedding ring. Well, not my ring exactly, but a dead ringer for it. Same vintage setting, same emerald-cut diamond, except hers was bigger. Because of course it was. I'm Astrid Calloway, 38, real estate agent specializing in overpriced Paradise Valley estates, and apparently world-class idiot. For 12 years, I thought I had it figured out. Solid marriage, gorgeous mid-century modern home with mountain views, husband who traveled constantly for pharmaceutical sales. Lawson was on the road 2 weeks every month, sometimes 3. Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, West Coast territory. I never questioned it. Why would I? He always came home with client gifts, funny stories about conference panels, and enough frequent flyer miles to upgrade us to first class on our anniversary trips. Then came Sunday, November 17th. Arizona Highway Patrol called at 11:47 p.m. Lawson's rental car went off a cliff on Highway 101 near Cannon Beach, Oregon. Plunged 200 feet into the Pacific. Vehicle fire. Body severely compromised. They identified him through DNA extracted from blood on the airbag and his driver's license in the burned wreckage. I went numb. You know that feeling when your brain just stops? Like someone pulled the plug on reality? That was me for 72 hours straight. My best friend Harper came over, handled the calls, fielded the casseroles from neighbors who think carbs cure grief. Classic American suburban response. Someone dies? Make a lasagna. Lawson's parents, Gerald and Patricia, insisted on a memorial service even without remains. Closure, Patricia kept saying, clutching her rosary like it was a lottery ticket. They arranged everything at Desert Hills, Scottsdale's premier funeral home where the wealthy go to be eulogized in climate-controlled comfort. Open bar at the reception, because apparently Arizona funerals are just sad cocktail parties. Wednesday morning, November 20th. I arrived 30 minutes early because I'm that person who shows up early to her own husband's funeral. The place was already filling up. Lawson's pharma colleagues in their department store suits, neighbors from our gated community, my real estate clients paying respects. Very civilized. Very Scottsdale. Then she walked in. Sabrina something or other, though I didn't know her name yet. Early 40s, perfectly highlighted brown hair. Black saint. John suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She had 2 teenage boys with her. Twins, matching sullen expressions, gangly in their ill-fitting blazers. They looked like Lawson. Same jaw, same dark eyes, same way of standing with their weight on one foot. My stomach dropped. She walked straight to the casket, the closed casket because there was supposedly nothing left to view, and placed her hand on it like she was comforting a sick relative. People immediately swarmed her. "Oh, Sabrina, we're so sorry." "Sabrina, he loved you so much." "Sabrina, if you need anything." "I'm sorry, what?" I marched over, my heels clicking on the marble floor like gunshots. "Excuse me," I said, voice tight enough to strangle someone. "I think there's been a mistake. I'm Lawson's wife." She turned slowly, this pitying look on her face like I'd just announced I believed in Bigfoot. "Oh, honey," she said, and I wanted to slap the condescension right off her glossed lips. "I understand this is difficult, but I'm Sabrina Reed, Lawson's wife. We've been married 17 years. 17 years? 17. I married Lawson in 2012. If her math was right, and the sinking feeling in my gut said it was, she married him in 2007, 3 years before me. That's impossible," I said, but my voice cracked. "We got married in Vegas. Well, Scottsdale Courthouse, but we met in Vegas, 2012. 12 years ago." Sabrina's expression shifted from pity to something worse. Understanding. She reached into her Prada handbag, because even grief has to be designer in Scottsdale, and pulled out her phone. "Maybe we should talk outside," she whispered. We moved to the chapel's courtyard, away from the growing crowd. The Arizona sun was brutal even in November, that dry heat that makes you feel like you're being slowly baked. Sabrina scrolled through her phone and showed me photos. Wedding photos. Lawson in a tuxedo, her in white, holding a bouquet. Date stamp, June 2007. "We got married at St. Timothy's in Mesa," she said quietly. "These are our boys, Connor and Dylan. They're 14. Lawson coached their soccer team. Went to every game he could. Every game he could. Between his work trips, she kept scrolling. Thanksgiving photos, Christmas mornings, the boys as babies, toddlers, gap-toothed elementary schoolers. And there, in the background of a 4th of July barbecue shot, were Gerald and Patricia, Lawson's parents, my in-laws, standing with Sabrina grilling hot dogs, wearing matching world's best grandparents' aprons. My vision tunneled. Your in-laws knew, I said flatly. Sabrina nodded. They've always been wonderful to the boys. Wonderful, sure. Wonderful enough to attend birthday parties and holiday dinners with Sabrina's kids while I spent every major holiday with them, believing I was their only daughter-in-law. Every Thanksgiving, I cooked a turkey while Sabrina also cooked a turkey. For the same man. On different days. I felt like I was going to vomit right there in the desert landscaping. Did you know about me? I asked. Not until yesterday, Sabrina admitted. The insurance company called. Said there was a complication with the beneficiary claim. That's when Lawson's lawyer told me about you. About the 2012 ceremony. Insurance. Right. Because death isn't just grief, it's paperwork. How much? I asked. $2 million, she said. I'm the beneficiary on his policy through the pharma company. Legal spouse. Legal spouse. Which meant I was, what? The side piece? 12 years of marriage, and I was technically his mistress. The other woman. The fool who thought courthouse weddings were romantic instead of legally convenient. Back inside, the service was starting. I walked to the front pew where Gerald and Patricia sat. They looked up, faces composed in practiced mourning, and I knew. They'd always known. You knew, I said, voice steady despite the rage vibrating through every cell. About both of us. Patricia opened her mouth, closed it. Gerald cleared his throat. Astrid, this isn't the time. When is the time, Gerald? Before or after I find out my entire marriage was a lie? The chapel went silent. Every head turned. Perfect. And that's when I walked to the casket. This supposedly sealed, respectful, closed casket containing my husband's unviewable remains. And I did what any rational person would do. I opened it. The casket was empty. Not metaphorically empty. Not spiritually he's in a better place. Empty. Literally, physically, completely empty. White satin lining, small pillow where a head should rest, and absolutely zero dead husband. I stared into that void while 200 people held their collective breath behind me. The funeral director, some guy named Dennis with a comb-over and panic in his eyes, rushed forward making these frantic hand gestures like he could somehow shoo me away from the evidence. Mrs. Reed, please, this is highly inappropriate. Which Mrs. Reed? I snapped. Because apparently there are two of us, and I'm starting to think neither of us got the deluxe package. Sabrina appeared at my elbow, looked into the casket, and went pale. Where is he? Excellent question, I said. Dennis? Care to explain why we're mourning an empty box? Dennis stammered something about symbolic memorial and remains too compromised for viewing and family's wishes. I turned to Gerald and Patricia, who suddenly found the floor fascinating. Your wishes, I said flatly. You requested a closed casket. Patricia clutched her pearls. Actual pearls. Because she's that kind of woman. We thought it would be more dignified. Dignified, I repeated. Right. More dignified than admitting your son was a bigamist running two complete families like he was managing franchise locations. The chapel erupted. Whispers became exclamations. Cell phones emerged from purses. This was about to go viral on Scottsdale's neighborhood Facebook groups faster than you could say HOA violation. I pulled out my phone and called the Arizona Highway Patrol. Right there, in front of everyone. Put it on speaker because why not? We were already performing for an audience. This is Trooper Martinez, a voice answered. Hi, this is Astrid Calloway. You called me Sunday night about my husband Lawson Reed's fatal accident on Highway 101? Yes, ma'am. I'm very sorry for your loss. Quick question. Did you actually recover a body? Pause. Long pause. Ma'am, the vehicle fire was extensive. We recovered biological evidence that confirmed... Blood, I interrupted. You found blood. DNA from blood. But no actual body, correct? Another pause. The medical examiner determined that given the height of the fall and intensity of the fire... So that's a no. I looked around the chapel. Everyone hear that? No body. Just blood and a license. Sabrina had her phone out now, too, scrolling frantically. The insurance company needs a death certificate for the claim. I filed 3 days ago. They said it was processing. $2 million, I announced to the room. That's what Lawson's life insurance is worth. And Sabrina here is the beneficiary because she's the legal wife. I'm just the unauthorized sequel. One of Lawson's pharma colleagues, Brad something, I'd met him at a company barbecue, raised his hand like we were in a classroom. So wait, you didn't know about each other? Not until today, Sabrina and I said simultaneously. We looked at each other. In another universe, this might have been funny. How is that even possible? Brad continued. I mean, we all assumed Lawson had a normal family life. He talked about you sometimes, Astrid, but we just figured everything was fine. Was it fine, though? I pulled up my calendar. Because he told me he had a West Coast territory. Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, 2 weeks a month, sometimes 3. Sabrina's face did this thing. This awful recognition thing. He told me he had to travel for national conferences, FDA meetings, pharmaceutical conventions. Also, 2 weeks a month. We both turned to Brad. Brad looked like he wanted to dissolve into the floor. That's the thing. Lawson worked from home, remote sales. He only came to Portland office maybe quarterly for reviews. Wait, I said slowly, the realization hitting like ice water. If the job was remote, why was he traveling 2 to 3 weeks every month? Brad shifted uncomfortably. That's what didn't make sense to us either. Remote means he could work from anywhere. Those business trips? Those were his choice. Not a job requirement. The silence was deafening. The trips weren't for work. They were for her. For Sabrina and the twins. Gerald cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. Oh no, I said. We're way past private. You enabled this. You had Thanksgiving with both families. Did you do 2 turkeys? Alternate years? How did you keep track? Patricia started crying. Real tears this time, not the performative grief from earlier. We thought he'd choose eventually. Come clean. We never imagined that he'd fake his own death, I finished. Because that's what this is looking like. Empty casket. No body, convenient car fire, $2 million insurance policy. My phone buzzed. Email from my mortgage company. Subject, urgent, unauthorized loan activity. I opened it, read it once, read it again because surely I was hallucinating. He took out a $300,000 home equity loan on my house. I said aloud. 3 weeks ago. Forged my signature. Sabrina's phone buzzed. She looked at it, then at me. Credit card fraud alert. Someone opened a Visa in my name. Maxed it out. $40,000. We stared at each other. He's not dead, we said together. Dennis, the funeral director, looked like he might actually have a heart attack at his own funeral home. Ladies, I assure you, the family provided all necessary documentation. From who? I demanded. Who gave you the death certificate? The medical examiner's office in Oregon. I called them. Right there. Googled the number and called. Asked for records on Lawson Reed. DOB March 1983. Supposed victim of vehicle accident November 17th. The clerk put me on hold. Came back. Ma'am, we have no death certificate on file for that name or date. The chapel descended into chaos. Sabrina grabbed my arm. We need to call the police, the insurance company. If he's alive and we file claims, we're accomplices to fraud. I finished. Perfect. 12 years of marriage and now I'm potentially a felon. Harper pushed through the crowd. My best friend, who'd been watching this unfold from the third pew with her mouth open. Astrid, what do you need? A lawyer, I said. Several lawyers. Maybe a private investigator. Definitely a drink. Gerald stood up, trying to regain some patriarchal authority. Now, everyone just calm down. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. Your son is a bigamist who possibly faked his death to collect insurance money and escape his debt, I said. Which part of that has a reasonable explanation? One of the twins, Connor or Dylan, I couldn't tell them apart, spoke up for the first time. Dad's alive? The hope in his voice broke something in me. These kids, they thought their father was dead. They were mourning. And meanwhile, Lawson was probably on a beach somewhere, planning his next move. Sabrina pulled her sons close. We don't know that yet, sweetie. But we did. We both knew. My phone buzzed again. Bank alert. Large wire transfer from my savings account. $75,000. Sent to an account in Belize. Belize. I held up my phone. He's in Belize. Or the money is. Transferred this morning. Sabrina checked her accounts. Face going from pale to white to green. Me too. $50,000 from our joint account. Same day. Also Belize. So much for till death do us part. Death would have been cleaner. Harper drove me home from the funeral. That wasn't because I was shaking too hard to operate a vehicle. Not from grief anymore. From rage. The productive kind. The kind that makes you dangerously focused. So what's the plan? Harper asked, pulling into my driveway. Besides day drinking and burning his clothes. I'm going to find him, I said. And then I'm going to make sure he spends the rest of his life regretting every single lie. That's the spirit, Harper said. Want me to stay? No. I need to think. Inside, my gorgeous mid-century modern home felt like a crime scene. Lawson's coffee mug still in the sink from his last morning here. His jacket on the coat rack. 12 years of shared life, and all of it contaminated by the truth. I went to his home office, the one I rarely entered because work stuff is boring, babe. Started pulling open drawers. Found the usual, old pharmaceutical samples, conference badges, expense reports. Then I found his filing cabinet. Locked. Took me 3 minutes with a letter opener to pop it. I'm a real estate agent. I know my way around cheap office furniture. Inside, 2 passports, both with his photo. One legitimate U.S. passport in his real name, Lawson Reed. The other was expertly forged with the same name but a different passport number. Good enough to fool airport security, apparently. One showed stamps from business trips I knew about. The fake one? Belize, Cayman Islands, Panama. All within the last 2 years. All on dates he'd supposedly been in Seattle or Portland. There was more. Bank statements for accounts I'd never seen. An offshore account in Belize with a current balance of $473,000. Wire transfer history going back 3 years. My $300,000, Sabrina's $50,000, but also dozens of smaller transfers. 20 here, 30 there. He'd been bleeding us dry in increments too small to notice. I photographed everything. Every page, every statement, every receipt. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. A burner phone, still charged. I turned it on. Text messages with someone named M dated from last week. Lawson. Everything's set. Accident staged for Sunday night. Blood sample planted. You'll get your cut when S collects insurance. M. What about the other one? Lawson. Astrid? She'll be fine. House is in both names, but the equity loan clears my half. She gets to keep her precious Scottsdale castle. M. Generous of you. Lawson. I'm a giver. I screamed. Actually screamed into the empty house. Then I called the one person who could help. Astrid? Sabrina answered on the first ring. Are you okay? Define okay, I said. Are you home? I'm coming over. Bring wine. Sabrina lived in Gilbert, about 30 minutes from Scottsdale. Smaller house, more family-oriented neighborhood. The kind of place with basketball hoops in driveways and minivans in garages. Her twins answered the door, still in their funeral suits. Is our dad really alive? Dylan, or Connor, asked. I looked at these kids. 14 years old. Their whole world was collapsing. I don't know yet, I lied. But we're going to find out. Sabrina ushered me into her kitchen, poured 2 very full glasses of Chardonnay. The boys are devastated. They loved him. I know, I said. I did too. Past tense. Now I just want justice. I showed her everything. The passports, the bank statements, the text messages. Her face cycled through shock, horror, and finally, the same cold rage I was feeling. Who's M? She asked. No idea. But they're his accomplice. Probably helped stage the accident. Sabrina pulled out her laptop. I've been married to him 17 years. I know things. His passwords. His patterns. She logged into his email. The one he thought was private. Started scrolling. Here, she said, turning the screen. M is Marcus. Marcus Brennan. They went to college together. Works as a paramedic in Portland. A paramedic. Someone with access to blood samples. Someone who could plant evidence at an accident scene. That's how they faked it, I said. Marcus staged the accident, planted Lawson's blood at the scene, then responded as the first paramedic on site. He confirmed the fatality to arriving police, who filed the official report based on his assessment. Sabrina kept scrolling. Found emails between Lawson and Marcus going back 6 months. Planning, discussing, refining, the life insurance payout, the timing, how to make it look convincing. And then, the final email, sent 2 days ago. Lawson to Marcus. Landed in San Pedro. Place is perfect. S will have the money in 6 months. Transfer it gradually to the Belize account. Meet me next year, we'll split everything 60-40. Astrid's equity loan covers our startup costs. This is going to work. San Pedro. Belize. I pulled out my phone and called the one person I knew who could handle international cases. My client, Richard Morrison, the federal prosecutor who'd bought a Paradise Valley estate from me last year. Richard? It's Astrid Calloway. Remember when you said if I ever needed legal help to call? I need help. 20 minutes later, I'd explained everything. Richard listened without interrupting, which is a lawyer's superpower. This is insurance fraud, wire fraud, forgery, and conspiracy, he said. Federal charges. If you're willing to testify, I can get the FBI involved. I'm willing, I said. Sabrina nodded beside me. Both of us, Sabrina added. Good. Don't touch anything else in his office. I'm sending agents to collect evidence, and I'm contacting the insurance fraud division. If Sabrina files that claim, she becomes an accomplice. Sabrina went pale. I already filed. Then withdraw it. Tomorrow. Say you need more time. Grief. Whatever. Just don't accept any money. What about the debt? I asked. The home equity loan was $300,000. He wired out another $75,000 from my savings. Sabrina had $40,000 in credit card fraud, plus a $50,000 wire transfer. We're liable for loans and charges we didn't make. Document everything. We'll add it to the case. When we recover assets, you'll be first in line as victims. After Richard hung up, Sabrina and I sat in her kitchen processing. I can't believe I'm doing this, she said, helping build a case against my own husband. Ex-husband, I corrected. Bigamy voids the marriage. You're as much a victim as I am. The boys deserve the truth. Age-appropriate truth, but truth. Their dad isn't dead. He's a criminal who abandoned them for money. Sabrina nodded slowly. What do we do now? Now? I smiled. Not a happy smile. A dangerous one. Now we set the trap. Richard's getting the FBI involved. They'll track the wire transfers, coordinate with Belize authorities. But we need Lawson to think he got away with it. How? I pulled up my bank account on my phone, the one Lawson had cleaned out, started typing a transaction. What are you doing? Sabrina asked. Sending him more money, small amount, $5,000, to the Belize account, with a note. Found this in our savings, thought you should have it. Rest in peace. Sabrina understood immediately. You want him to think you bought it, that you believe he's dead. Exactly. If he thinks we're clueless, he'll stay comfortable, get sloppy, maybe even access the account from a traceable location. That's brilliant, Sabrina said. Should I do the same? No. You withdraw your insurance claim. Play the devastated widow who can't handle it yet. He'll think you're falling apart. I'll play the grief-stricken widow moving on. Between us, we keep him convinced his plan worked. Sabrina raised her wine glass. To making my bigamist husband regret ever underestimating us. I clinked my glass against hers. To revenge served ice cold with a side of federal prison time. Outside, Arizona sunset painted the sky orange and purple. Beautiful. Peaceful. Lawson had no idea what was coming, but he was about to find out. The FBI moves faster than you'd think when there's $500,000 in wire fraud and a fake death involved. Agent Sarah Klein arrived at my house Thursday morning, November 21st. Navy suit, sensible shoes. The kind of no-nonsense energy that makes you want to confess crimes you didn't commit. She brought a team. They photographed everything in Lawson's office, bagged the burner phone, copied the hard drive from his computer. Your instinct to document was smart, she told me. Most people destroy evidence when they're angry. I sell houses for a living, I said. I know the value of good documentation. By Friday, they'd traced the wire transfers. Belize has banking privacy laws, but they're surprisingly cooperative when American law enforcement comes knocking with fraud charges. Lawson's account showed deposits matching exactly what he'd stolen from Sabrina and me, plus the accumulated transfers from the past 3 years. He's been planning this a long time, Agent Klein said during our second interview. The offshore account, the second passport, the relationship with Marcus Brennan. This wasn't impulsive. This was calculated. How long until you arrest him? Sabrina asked. She joined me for this meeting, both of us sitting in my living room like we were hosting the world's worst book club. We're coordinating with Belizean authorities now. He's in San Pedro, staying at a resort under his own name. Apparently he thinks he's untouchable. Typical, I muttered. Lawson always did have an overinflated sense of his own cleverness. Agent Klein almost smiled. We're also building the case against Marcus Brennan. Paramedic records show he was working the night of the supposed accident. He responded to the scene, planted the evidence, then gave first responders an assessment that led to the official death report. Oregon State Police are not happy about being used. When do we get our money back? I asked. After arrest and asset seizure. Could take months. But you'll be classified as victims, which puts you first in line for restitution. Months. Great. Meanwhile, I had a $300,000 fraudulent loan in my name and credit score circling the drain. The arrest happened on Wednesday, November 27th, day before Thanksgiving. The FBI has a sense of dramatic timing, apparently. Agent Klein called me at 2 p.m. We have him. Belizean police picked him up at a beachfront bar. He was drinking margaritas. Of course he was. Marcus Brennan? Arrested this morning in Portland. Both are being extradited to Arizona for prosecution. Federal charges, wire fraud, insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, and identity theft. What about the bigamy? State charge. We'll add it. He's looking at 15 to 20 years federal, plus whatever Arizona throws at him. I sat down. Actually sat down because my legs stopped working. 12 years of marriage. And it ended with him getting arrested drinking margaritas in Belize while I dealt with his fraud victims support group. There's more, Agent Klein said. When we searched his resort room, we found something interesting. A third passport, different name entirely. Colin Hayes, British citizenship, completely fabricated identity. A third identity, I said flatly. Of course. Why stop at 2 wives when you can have an entire international persona? We're investigating whether there are additional victims, other relationships, other frauds. I hung up and immediately called Sabrina. They got him, I said. She was silent for a moment. Then, good. That's good, right? It's good, I confirmed. He's coming home, in handcuffs. Thanksgiving that year was surreal. Harper insisted I come to her place rather than spend it alone. Sabrina brought the twins. We had turkey and watched football and pretended this was normal. The boys were struggling. Their dad was alive but also a criminal who'd abandoned them for money. No parenting book prepares you for that conversation. Is Dad going to prison? Connor asked during halftime. Yes, Sabrina said. No point sugarcoating it. For how long? A very long time. Dylan, the quieter twin, spoke up. Good, he deserved it. Kid had a point. The extradition took just under 2 weeks. Lawson arrived back in Phoenix on December 10th, in federal custody. Richard Morrison's office scheduled the arraignment for December 13th. Sabrina and I both attended. Front row seats to the downfall. Lawson looked terrible. Tanned, sure, but terrible. Thinner. Scared. The kind of scared you get when you realize your clever plan wasn't actually that clever. He saw us sitting together, Sabrina and me, united front in matching power suits, and something in his face just collapsed. The judge read the charges. It took 4 full minutes. Lawson pled not guilty, which was hilarious considering the mountain of evidence the FBI had compiled. His public defender looked like he wanted to be literally anywhere else. Bail was denied. Flight risk, given the whole faked his death and fled to Belize thing. As they led him out, he tried to make eye contact with Sabrina. She looked right through him like he was glass. I gave him a little wave. Very friendly. Very, hope you enjoy federal prison, sweetheart. Marcus Brennan's arraignment was the same day. He tried to cut a deal immediately. Testified against Lawson in exchange for reduced charges. Gave the FBI everything. How they planned it. Where they got the blood sample. How he manipulated the accident scene and his paramedic assessment to make the death look legitimate. He even provided text messages the FBI hadn't found yet. Prosecutors loved Marcus. Cooperative defendant, detailed testimony, perfect witness. He still got 8 years for conspiracy and evidence tampering, but it could have been worse. The civil cases moved faster than criminal. By January, I'd filed against Lawson's estate for the fraudulent equity loan and wire transfers. Sabrina did the same. The offshore account was seized, all $473,000 plus the recent wire transfers that were still in transit, totaling another $125,000. The court appointed a receiver to liquidate Lawson's assets and distribute to victims. Turned out Sabrina and I weren't his only victims. 4 other women came forward. Not wives, thankfully, but women he'd borrowed money from over the years. Amounts ranging from $12,000 to $22,000 each, always with some story about temporary cash flow problems. The receiver found evidence of $68,000 in additional fraud from these women alone. When agents searched deeper, they discovered Lawson had already spent roughly $60,000 on his Belize setup. Resort deposits, fake documents, Marcus's initial cut. That explained why the offshore account had less than the total he'd stolen from all of us. We all got in line for restitution. The house in Scottsdale, my house, was protected because the equity loan was fraudulent. Bank had to eat that loss. My credit was cleared. Sabrina's credit card fraud was reversed. We were both made whole, financially at least, by March. Gerald and Patricia tried to apologize. Sent letters, showed up at my house, called repeatedly. I blocked them everywhere. They'd enabled Lawson for 17 years, hosted 2 separate family Thanksgivings, smiled to my face while knowing their son was committing felony bigamy. There's no apology for that. Sabrina forgave them eventually. For the twins' sake. She's better than me. The trial was scheduled for September. But in August, Lawson took a plea deal instead. 15 years federal prison, full restitution to all victims, forfeiture of all remaining assets. He'd be 56 when he got out. The twins would be almost 30. At the sentencing hearing, the judge asked if any victims wanted to make statements. I stood up. Your Honor, I was married to Mr. Reed for 12 years. I believed we had a partnership, a future, a life. Instead, I had a legally invalid relationship with a con artist who saw me as a bank account with a house attached. He stole my money, my trust, and 12 years I can't get back. I hope he spends every single day of his sentence thinking about what he destroyed. Thank you. Sabrina stood next. Your Honor, Lawson Reed is the father of my children. They loved him, trusted him. He abandoned them for money. He let them believe he was dead. There is no punishment severe enough for that. But 15 years is a start. The judge sentenced him to the full 15 years. No early release. Marcus got 8. Justice, apparently, tastes like courtroom coffee and vindication. People ask me now if I regret those 12 years with Lawson. The answer is complicated. Do I regret loving someone who turned out to be a sociopath with excellent time management skills? Sure. Do I regret the version of myself who trusted blindly instead of questioning why my husband was always just about to leave Portland when I called? Absolutely. But here's the thing about being spectacularly wrong about someone. It teaches you to be spectacularly right about yourself. It's been 13 months since the sentencing. September 2026 now. I'm 39, single, running my real estate business better than ever. Turns out, when you're not emotionally supporting a double life, you have a shocking amount of energy for actual productivity. I closed 32 sales this year, personal record. Sabrina and I stayed friends, which sounds bizarre, I know. The wife and the not technically wife bonding over shared trauma. But we text regularly, meet for coffee once a month. She's enrolled in online college courses, something she always wanted to do before the twins were born. Connor and Dylan are 16 now, thriving in therapy, playing varsity soccer. They visit Lawson exactly never. He writes them letters from prison. The envelopes arrive addressed to the boys. Sabrina shows them. They don't open them. Gerald and Patricia move to Tucson. Sabrina maintains minimal contact for the boys' sake. Birthday cards, awkward FaceTime calls on holidays. I haven't spoken to them since the trial. Some bridges don't deserve reconstruction. Harper throws this theory at me sometimes over wine. Maybe Lawson did you a favor. You're happier now than I ever saw you with him. She's not wrong. The version of me married to Lawson was smaller somehow. Quieter. Always accommodating his schedule, his needs, his mysterious 2-week disappearances. I kept myself compact to fit into the spaces he left between lies. Now? I take up space. Bought myself a Porsche Cayenne with the restitution money. Splurged on a kitchen renovation. Started dating again. Casually. Nothing serious. Turns out, once you've had a husband fake his own death to escape you, regular relationship problems feel adorably manageable. He said he'd call but didn't? Cute. My ex staged a car accident and fled to Central America. It's excellent conversation material. The money thing sorted itself eventually. The court-appointed receiver liquidated everything. Lawson's retirement accounts, his portion of Sabrina's house, a classic Mustang he'd been restoring in a storage unit none of us knew about. All of it divided among his victims proportionally. I got back every penny. The $300,000 from the equity loan plus the $75,000 wire transfer. Sabrina recovered her $90,000. The other 4 women got their shares. Marcus Brennan's paying restitution too, though paying is generous. Prison wages are something like 12 cents an hour. I'll see that money approximately never, but it's the principle. The weirdest part? I'm grateful. Not for the betrayal or the fraud or the 12 years of unknowing participation in bigamy, but for the clarity. Some people spend their whole lives married to liars and never get the dramatic confirmation I got. They just have this nagging suspicion, this low-grade unease they can never quite name. I got the full reveal. Empty casket, second wife, offshore accounts, federal arrest. No ambiguity. No wondering if I was crazy or overreacting. Just pure, documentable, prosecutable proof that I was right to feel wrong. There's freedom in that. Sabrina says something similar. She's dating too. A divorced dad she met at one of the twins' soccer games. Nice guy. Accountant. She did a full background check. Made him provide tax returns before the 3rd date. Can't say I blame her. I'm done with charm, she told me last month. Give me boring and reliable. Give me someone whose idea of excitement is finding a good interest rate. Amen to that. The house in Scottsdale feels different now. I had it blessed by 3 different people. A priest, a Buddhist monk, and a woman who burns sage professionally. Probably overkill, but I needed the ritual of cleansing. Then I redecorated. New furniture, new paint, new everything. If Lawson walked in today, he wouldn't recognize it. Not that he's walking anywhere besides the prison yard for the next 13 years. I saw the twins last week. They're taller than me now, deep voices, the whole teenage transformation. We got pizza, talked about colleges they're considering. Connor wants to study engineering. Dylan's thinking pre-law. I want to put bad guys in prison, Dylan said. Like what happened to Dad. The irony wasn't lost on me. Lawson's son, inspired by his father's conviction to pursue justice. Poetic doesn't begin to cover it. As for me, I learned that love without verification is just optimism in expensive jewelry. I learned that gut feelings exist for a reason. I learned that the most dangerous lies are the ones wrapped in normalcy. The Tuesday morning coffee, the kiss goodbye, the I'll be home Friday. And I learned that you can't con someone who's already been conned. I'm uncheatable now. My trust isn't gone. It's just significantly more expensive to earn. Lawson's been in prison 658 days. He has 4,817 days remaining. But who's counting? Me. I'm counting. Every single one.